Alien Isolation uses sounds very cleverly. It blurs the line between the biological and the mechanical, between music and sound effect, between the mundane and the horrifying, even between game and film. As the player, you're locked in a constant state of tension with the game environment and the actors within it, not least your legendary antagonist. In this video series, we'll look at the way sounds are used in Alien Isolation and how we can create the same effects using Unreal Engine 4. After revisiting this game during lockdown, I started thinking about the sound design in this game and just how good it is. Why is it so much better than the sound design we hear in other games? Because for me, the sound design in Alien Isolation is possibly the best sound design in any game ever. Why? Well, before we can really answer that, we need to ask another question. What is sound design? The term sound design was coined by Walter Murch as he set about placing sounds in the three-dimensional space of American cinemas for the film Apocalypse Now, technology that would later evolve to become surround sound. The term sound design wasn't fully accepted then, and it isn't really now, arguably because there's no recognized definition for what sound design really is. Even in 2020, some 40 years after Walter Murch coined the term, the Oscars doesn't have a category for sound design, though it does have categories for sound editing and sound mixing. Pinning down a precise meaning for the term became even more difficult with the advent of computer games and new media, which pushed the boundaries of audio and screen experiences and redefined what an audience could be. No longer passive viewers, the audience was actively engaging with the events on screen, having a direct input on what sounds were heard and when. In his book Sound Design in Science Fiction, William Whittington sets out three meanings of the term sound design. First, sound design is the creation of specific sound effects. Second, sound design relates to the conceptual design of the overall soundtrack. And third, sound design is a method through which sound is deployed to the audience. Think mono, stereo, and surround sound mixing. Sound in science fiction and horror films has always been at the cutting edge. Conceptually, these genres offer directors and creators the space to imagine new worlds, new locations, and redefine our understanding of the normal, rendering it as supernatural and paranormal, otherworldly and alien. Across each of the Alien movies, this has meant different things, but underpinning all of them was one core driver. Without the dark undercurrent of fear of the unseen and the unknown, the Alien films would be nothing. I'd argue that our sense of fear is driven by what we hear, more than by what we see. When our imagination is used against us, hearing but not seeing is infinitely more terrifying than having the horror visually revealed. And that's it. All that tension is released. But it's not resolved because you know that's only the first hour of the game. And this is just the beginning. The sound design in Alien Isolation does three things really well that directly relate to our earlier meanings of sound design. First, the game includes over 8,000 sounds, not including music or dialogue, but ranging from ambiences to weapons, the Xenomorph's movement sounds, and Ripley's squeaky trainers. Originally recorded or edited from libraries, each sound is tailor-made to fit in with the Alien universe. Second, the sound design in Alien Isolation blurs the line between the mechanical and the organic in much the same way that H.R. Giger's designs for the film did as well. Some of the doors actually have the xenomorph sounds blended in with them, so that as the doors open, you think something is either out there or behind you. Third, it places audio effects around the player, providing a fully spatial experience. In stereo setup, sounds come from either side and partly in front of you as well, depending on how your speakers are set up. In 5.1 surround sound, all creature and environmental sounds can appear anywhere around the player. But the sound design in Alien Isolation does something extra, which pushes it far beyond the level of any predecessor game set in this universe, and well beyond the reach of many other high-production games. It draws on our oral memory of the Alien movie franchise, both in terms of sound design and music, but also, crucially, reproduces the timing, instancing, and rhythm of certain sounds and events, evoking the emotional responses we had then, and arguably allowing the game to tap deeper into a more base level of personal fear. In this video series, we'll create sounds similar in style and tone to those used in Alien Isolation. We'll cover blending these sounds into our scene, and what points to consider when designing the overall soundtrack for a scene. And finally, we'll look at sound placement, how we can use Unreal Engine 4 to deploy sounds effectively in stereo and 5.1 surround sound mixes. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter to keep informed about upcoming videos. And hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out on any new audio-related content. Thanks for watching, and remember, in space, no one can hear you scream.